Hello, everyone. I am very excited to invite you to a conversation with Sigrun. Hi, Sigrun. I'm
Hi,
very
Katja. I'm so
happy and
happy here.
I'm honored that you accepted an invitation and that we have this opportunity to introduce you also to the people who've been following me and learn a little bit more about you and how you actually impact the lives of women, and I'm one of them. So hopefully that conversation could inspire other women who are looking for some inspiration to take bold actions, which you are famous for inspiring women too. Sigrun, I could use many words to introduce you, but I think my little story of how I approached you and when and where I am today might sum it all up and give a very clear picture of how you influence women's lives. Because I remember I saw you first time in 2017, so way back.
Yeah.
And I remember mixed feelings that I felt when I saw you for the first time. As I like to describe it, there was just this random lady in red who was popping up on my Facebook. I think I found you because of Facebook ads. And that redness, that boldness somehow drew my attention. That was the first step. And then I started like peaking, still being in the job as an interpreter, having no idea about online business. But you kind of watching you was giving me the hint of what my professional life could look like. So I started following you in 2017. And then I remember in 2018, there was a treat because around December time, you came with 12 masterclasses, which I was ecstatic to hear that they will be for free. And that's where I thought, I got Sigrun. Now I'm going to learn everything she teaches and I'm going to build my online business. So I started watching the masterclasses. Actually, it was in 2017 when I did that. And that's where I had the thought that I'm going to learn everything by watching them. And that was a real treat. I remember this festive season. It was a real treat watching those classes and learning so much from you on so many different levels. And not only technical aspects, but mindset aspects, you name it. So every class was teaching me a lot in that festive season, but it was also showing me how little I know, how much more there is to know. And there was so much value in those 12 master classes. And they were that kind of gateway when I thought it's worth working with you. Knowing how much value you give for free, I thought, how much value can I get when I pay? And that's where my journey with you started seriously a year later when I decided to start working with you in 2018. It was October, November month. And it was life-changing because in 2019, I started taking bold steps, bold action, inspired by you, mentored by you, told by you, scolded by you, I can even say, but all those words, not always soft. I would say sometimes they were harsh, but there was meaning behind it. And all those words, they were helping me to step my game up. And that's how I created my first online business, which from year one has always been six-figured. So thank you, if I may, at this start. Thank you. And now it's 2023. We are approaching the end of the year. I know that my life has changed on many levels because I took that bold action and because I spotted the lady in red one day. Everything happens for a reason. Today, I have many questions to you because I've been following you through all those years. And I have been witnessing your ups and downs, of course, to the level that you're open to openly share. But being also an online entrepreneur from 2019, I understand the ups and downs. And I think one of the questions that I would like to ask you today is around challenges. How do you cope with challenges? Because those challenges are not necessarily only business challenges. They can be life challenges, relationship challenges, health challenges. How do you cope with them to the extent that you get up again and you are ready to take bold actions again, reaching for even higher dreams? If you could share.
Yeah, I think when the challenges are from the outside, like the economy or, pandemic or other crazy things that have happened in the past years, actually that fuels me. I come from Iceland, and we are constantly bombarded with earthquakes and volcanic eruptions and mudslides and who knows what. And so there's something in me that just gets fired up to help my community and my clients thrive throughout difficult times. And so that's one part. And they do not push me down, these outside challenges. They actually kind of like, hey, let's get a masterclass together tomorrow. Like, I'll get my team to react within 24 hours. And then I have a plan, what we do for the next week and the coming months to support our community if they are struggling to figure out what to say or what to do because of some outside influences. So that's one part. But of course, some other things can happen in our life. And because online business is personal, it's the biggest personal development journey you go on. And anything you do in your business is a part of that growth. There are also things that, are a setback in a way where you just can't keep on going because, you get sick, for instance. I have been blessed with not being sick a lot in the last 10 years of running my online business. But in 2021, I did get something worse than a cold. It was not COVID. It was RS virus, which kids normally get. But for some reason, I'm vulnerable because I have asthma. And so I landed in hospital. And then I got all these symptoms that you get with COVID, like brain fog. I didn't know what brain fog was, but it's very clear to me now what brain fog is. You literally, you watch the stupid movies because that's the only thing your brain can handle. You can't handle a complicated movie or read a business book. I started to read crime stories. I could do that once I was a little bit better. But when I was really in the brain fog, it was just like these series on Netflix where they go into a home and remodel everything. And I'm like, yeah, that's the only thing my brain can deal with right now. I watched all of these home renovation movies and series. And that was tough because I was out of my business for 6 weeks, and then I came back and I had to deal with some team issues because just before I got sick, literally the day before, I hired someone new, which I thought would be amazing, but I was not there to onboard the person, not to train her, and not to see any red flags that would pop up. So I first had to deal with that and then actually let go of the person. So that was a tough one, to realize that I'd hired the wrong person and I was away for 6 weeks and my team was just like, oh, we're going to tolerate this new person and wait until Sigrun is back. So that was challenging. And then I was like without an important person because she was supposed to actually be the integrator on my team and didn't turn out to be the right one. And then towards the end of the same year, 2021, I'm preparing to go on a retreat. I'm in Iceland. I'm about to fly to Switzerland a few days later and then go and meet my high-end clients in Red Circle Mastermind. And I get a phone call from Tenerife, Spain, where my parents are vacationing and my dad is in ICU. And I helped them first get all the credit card, the secure, the insurance stuff sorted so that the insurance pays for the hospital. I help them with that. But I just see my dad and I get very worried that maybe this is the last of him and I want to be there. And so I book the next possible flight and fly over there. And I pack for 2 weeks, but I did expect to be only 1 week. I don't know. My mind just said 1 week and then things will be fine. And I was very nervous, but luckily he did get better from his pneumonia. He was in ICU for a few days, and then he was out of ICU just the day after I arrived. But then he got COVID in the hospital, and they didn't want to let him go. And so instead of the 1 or 2 weeks that I thought I would be there, I ended up being there 2 months. And my mom got sick too. She also landed in hospital for a few days. I got sick too, but I have, because of my asthma condition, I do have tablets, steroids, and I can take them on my own. So I think that's how I avoided going to hospital as well. And I was out of the business. Like my brain was not like, I was zero interested in my business. It was suddenly like, this did not matter to me. My family was everything. And I didn't care what's going to happen in the business. But of course, Christmas is approaching and we have our big marketing campaign always around Christmas, 12 days of masterclasses. And so it was on my mind to kind of still go ahead with it in some shape or form and not, I have employees. I don't want them to lose their job. And I feel like, my mission to accelerate gender equality and help women build a business, that drives me forward. But yeah, it was tough. Probably the most difficult time was on December 1st. I was doing a planning workshop, a 3-day planning workshop. And that day I was unable to reach my dad. We called him every morning. We couldn't visit him. He was in quarantine. And we called him and couldn't reach him. And then I had to call the hospital. And I had to do this all for my mom because she is no shape or form to do this. So I'm so glad I was there. Basically, I was there for her more than I was there for my dad. And then I'm calling the hospital and then sending a nurse to his room, making sure everything's fine. And I get him on the phone briefly through the hospital phone. And he just said something like, I fell on the floor in the night. And I'm like, and obviously he's kind of okay, he's back in bed, but you can hear that, his voice is trembling. And then a few minutes later, I have to go live and do a planning workshop. And that was probably the worst day of my life. Whoa. In terms of, worrying about my dad, not being able to really see him, which we weren't able to see him for 2 months. But, and then I just had to deliver. And I don't know, I think I did an okay job, but that was a tough one. We got back home to Iceland December 15th. And then I was finally like, okay, I got to go all into my masterclasses. And then I did something that we women often don't do. I asked for help. Yeah, because, our ads had been running and my team was doing their best in the background to get enough signups for a marketing campaign, but it was not as good as it could have been if I had been there in full energy. And I emailed some, advanced online entrepreneurs, typically 7-figure female online entrepreneurs. And they are like friends, but, acquaintances. Let's call them acquaintances. It's not your closest friend, but I told them what had happened. And could you do me a favor and email your list? And they did. And it's like amazing if we are willing to be vulnerable and share and let people know that we need help, that so many people are willing to help. And we were able to pull off another 7-figure launch, like against all odds, I would say. Yeah, because, and I also got energy from being back there with the audience and with my team. So I think it's a part of my therapy to also not stop the business, you know. Stopping your business completely is not good. Now, of course, if you're sick, take care of that. If your family, if there's a family emergency, take care of that. But what if the family emergency is finished? What if you're no longer sick? Get back into the business and do what you can with the energy you have, and you will actually see, at least that's my experience, that this helps you recover as well.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing with this intimate story and those details. Listening to you telling this story, one of the questions popped up. Why do you think then some women that you work with or have been in your world, they go up and grow the business, and every year this business is better and better? And yet there are also women who somehow start very well, but everything collapses at some point. What makes that difference?
Well, I think the difference is you gotta have passion in what you do. And so if the passion is gone, you know, I talk to a lot of women. I actually talked to someone earlier today. I'm not going to reveal her name, obviously, but she has been running a business very successfully for a number of years, and she's no longer in love with that business. And instead of letting it die or get stuck, it is much braver to say, I'm not loving this anymore. So how can I sell it or close it off and actually do that thing that I love? And so the passion needs to be in there. And I've gone through, you know, phases where maybe some of my programs, not the business itself, I think, well, I must say, during the family emergency, I was not loving my business at the same time. I was like, oh, and then people trying to talk to me on Slack, and I was like, oh, leave me alone, leave me alone. But that's different. But when I came back to the business and I see the impact we can have and how many women we can help, I absolutely, you know, rekindled my love in my business. But there have been times where, oh, I love this program, and this program, there's something I need to change. And it can take weeks and months until you figure out what that is that you need to change or do differently. And that's totally fine. And I think this is normal. And it doesn't matter if your business is really small or super big. You're not going to love every piece of the business. There's also always going to be maybe a team member that's not the best. And there's going to be others that you are raving about. There is never a time where everything is perfect. And, you know, some people don't want problems. But business is a problem. Like the whole thing about business is you're solving somebody else's problem. And inside your own business, the fuel is constant solving problems, you know? So problem is not a negative thing. Actually, it's without problem, we would die. Like we would like, what do? We have nothing to solve. We have nobody to help. You know, there's nothing to fix. There's supposed to be problems. So I think it's nothing to avoid. And so the key is when you realize that your passion is no longer there, you got to have that hard talk with yourself, or do what this woman is doing, which I think is very brave and very good. She reached out to me on Messenger and said, Sigrun, can we have a quick chat? And I know she's having another call tomorrow and another call the day after with women that she respects. And that's what you should do. If your business is stalling or like going this way, have that heart-to-heart talk with people you respect. If you're in a group coaching program or a mastermind, you can do it there. Don't be shy about it. It's nothing to be embarrassed about. If you're not currently surrounded by people that you want to take advice from, then find them. Maybe an old mentor, old business coach, or old colleague that you see, you respect their advice. Get on that call and say, okay, I'm no longer in love with my business, or this program is no longer working. I know I'm actually want to do this here. And then you just talk and you'll figure it out. And that's so important to, you know, raise your hand and say, I need some help. A a business that is not growing is dying. That's a fact. So if the business is not growing, look at what are the reasons. So I had my business not growing in 2022. I know why. So I know, it was my low energy after the incidents with my parents and me being sick. And that was interesting because my business actually grew in 2021 for some weird reasons, even if I wasn't there. But then it comes the post-stress. And that was in 2022. So after you've dealt with something serious in your life, health or family, and you're like, oh, I'm back again. Everything is fine now. That's when you hit the valley often. And you can have a slight, it doesn't have to be a serious depression, but there can be like moments of sadness or just feeling like, oh, I don't have the energy to do all these things that I maybe used to do. And that's what I had in 2022, interestingly. So we stalled, we didn't grow, but that's okay too. I'm still here. And, as long as my business is making over 2 million, I think I'm okay. But it's recognizing right away, why did it stall or why did it decline? Why did it have a little dip? Was it because I wasn't fully there? Well, then you know the solution. If you are back on track with your energy, it's probably not going to happen again. It's going to start to grow again. Is it the economy? Although I'm always careful about blaming the economy because there are always winners and losers. And those who really go for it, they benefit from difficult economic circumstances. It's waking up right in the moment where you feel my business is stalling, declining. Have this hard talk and decide what to do.
I love what you're sharing here with us today, because being surrounded by businesswomen in this online world, I have witnessed businesses not working out and going down. But usually the common thread was when women were trying to build the business because they thought that there is the need on the market for that, but they had no interest in doing what they were choosing to do. So it was more like, oh, people need this. I know a little bit about this. I will make a business. And I notice that in my own business, in which I've been since 2019, so for 4 years, how important that passion for what we are doing is. Without it, my business would collapse in year 2, because there are so many ups and downs that you've just mentioned in a few minutes, how many ups and downs you have experienced in just 1 year. There's so many ups and downs that if we rely only on that financial aspect or only on the numbers of the followers, that will never help us build that strong business. And another
I think that's where also women are different from men. I do hate generalizing, but I'm in a couple of Facebook groups where there's majority men, and then I'm in lots of groups where there's majority women, and the energy is completely different. The men were like, how do I make money the fastest? And the women are like, I'm looking for freedom. I want to create something from my passion. And therefore, I don't think women can use this approach like, how do I make money? How do you turn your passion into a profitable, sustainable, long-term online business success? And if your passion changes, which can happen, you see it because your numbers are stalling or going down, and you take decisions. And what you can do is like, okay, this was a bad year, or this was a bad month. I'm going to go back up because I still love what I'm doing. I just, need to maybe fix my marketing or sales or whatever, or the program. Often the offer is not good enough. And then I'm back on track. And that's okay. It's okay to have a bad month or a year. But if it's ongoing, then face the facts and follow your passion and switch over. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm seeing so many women, they fall out of love with their businesses, or maybe they were never in love with it in the first place, but they fall out of love. And this can also happen. And this is not unusual when you've been running a business for several years and it's a personal brand, and you started with a topic that felt easy in the beginning. And then you grow as a human being and you're like, I'm not the same person as 5 years ago. Now I have bigger dreams. I have this bold vision of what I could do. And your little business that you have, you're like, that's going to be a showstopper. It's going to hold me back from doing the thing. And then you can say to yourself, okay, can I sell it? Can I run it on the side? Can I maybe hire someone to run it for me? Like, what can I do? Instead of letting it die. Like,
that's a good piece of advice, I think, for anyone who contemplates change. And like you've said, running a business online, it's a huge personal growth exercise on a daily basis on so many levels. So of course we grow, and we grow fast. We grow fast. I'm not talking about the growth of the business, but us as individuals, when we are surrounded by those by other entrepreneurs, where we exchange the ideas, where we share with the problems, challenges, and wins on a weekly basis, regular basis. Of course, we grow. So we also need to accept that expansion and what to do with it. So beautiful piece of advice. Thank you for sharing. I want to know if you know what mindset shift had to take place in you to bring you first to 1 million and then the following millions. Because here we're talking about this glass ceiling, which we know. What helped you to finally move the needle?
I think when you start a business, you're not thinking about the million, although there are people who come to me and say, I want to make $1 million. I'm like, I don't think I want to work with you, because you're just starting at zero and you're thinking about the million. There are so many steps along the way. I think the first shift that I had to do was more at close to 6 figures. I was maybe even at 75,000. And then I had made pretty good money 3 months in a row. And then I hit a ceiling in my head, and I self-sabotaged for a whole month. I didn't email my list. I didn't follow up with people who wanted to work with me. And this led to me, from 1 month, I made $25,000, and the next month, $1,700. And it was all me. I cannot blame anyone else. And I think that's very important. You have to take 100% responsibility. Cannot blame it on your course or the coach or anything like that. And that's where I kind of discovered this block that I had, rich people are bad. And it was because my grandfather, he was not like rich, but he had a house, an apartment, and 2 cars, and was kind of well off. And I don't know how well he was off when my parents were teenagers. My mother got pregnant with 16. My dad went to his dad and asked him for financial help. And he wanted to go to school and learn how to, work on a ship. Not a fancy education, but just an education that would pay a little bit more than if you don't educate at all. And my grandfather said no. And I was told this story maybe when I was 6 or 7 or 8, who knows how young I was. And I'm like, rich people are bad. I just create the story in my head. And so this pops up suddenly in my business. I had never had this block me before. And I had to do some work and reframe this story and that, I was back to 10K the next month, because I realized, I spoke to a few people. I learned about money mindset. I understood that we have these stories in their head, and when they pop up, we have to reframe them and discover a new belief, basically change our old beliefs into new beliefs. So that was fine. And then I went to 6 figures, and, you know, and then I was at 300,000. And then in my 3rd year of business, I had made 340,000. And then something hit me. I can go for the million. Then this belief came to me, like, I can do it. Before, it was not there, you know?
Yeah.
6 figures was a goal, like it is for many. And then when I saw I could, you know, double that and triple that, was all good. And I didn't feel any blocks. But then I was like, if I can do 300,000, I can do a million. Like,
yeah.
Why not? And I did something crazy. I don't know if that's a recipe for others to follow, but I emailed my list in February of the following year. This is the year I'm going to make the million. So I made a public announcement, well, as public as it is when you email your list. And I felt committed to show the women in my community and my clients that I could do it. So I wanted it, and I felt they wanted it too. So I got very positive reaction to that email, and they were kind of cheering me on. Okay, so then the year happens, and we are at August, and I've made 340,000, and I'm like, huh, that's not enough for the million. I need like double. I need that twice. I need 660, and something happened, and I cannot tell you exactly, but I think it was this public commitment and me being like, I'll do it. Like, this is the year. Like, why not? I know it started to sound very unachievable. Like, who am I to make 660,000 in 4 months? And, you know, I don't know how to do that. But I took a notebook. I took my Sigrun notebook. And I wrote down, and I started to, and I'm not a big on journaling, but I started to, I don't know if you call it journaling, but I wrote down the goal. Okay, what did I need to achieve? So how much is left to the million? And then I listed all my programs, and also the programs of next year, because I was like, I'm doing a retreat. Maybe I can sell it now.
Yeah.
I listed everything. I listed the prices of every program, and I listed exactly the number of spots I needed to sell in each program. And it was not a daily habit, but I would say 2 times a week or so, I would do this, the same exercise. How much is left? What I need to sell. And I did launch a podcast, which I had been procrastinating on. It doesn't make you money, podcast, but it does help you with exposure. Yeah. I did do my first live event. It also helps with exposure. Sold out all my masterminds for next year at that live event. We did do a launch of my Zomba course. So there were several marketing activities, and still I was off by probably 200,000 when we were in December. I'm like, I have no more marketing campaigns, but I did all kinds of things, like a workshop. You can come on a call, and like a mastermind call as a test for my masterminds. And literally and this became like a competition, like for me, with myself. I'm not competing with anyone else. It's just me. And when it was getting so close, like 200 left, 100,000 left, I'm like, I can't believe that I'm just going to go to 900,000. That's unacceptable in my books. And so I pushed, and people were cheering me on. And literally on 31st of December, just before midnight, made it. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing in such detail with this story, because I think it shows the importance of really, in a way, making an effort to follow that plan and that goal. It's not that you just wrote in your diary on the 1st of January, I'm going to make 1 million this year. And then you were waiting until 31st December to check, do I have 1 million or not? You started asking yourself questions. What can bring me closer to that? And like you said, I don't know if my method is great for everyone, but that definitely worked for you. And you didn't read it in a book. You just sat down and thought, what could bring me closer to that? And it was August. And interesting enough, I'm smiling because the method that I've never known how you came to the realization, how to make it work, the method that turned out to work for you, you started sharing with that method with others. And
Yes.
I never forget the hot seat that I was on in September 1 year in 2019 when I wanted to go to 6-figure. And I was far away from that because I think I was at that point at 35,000. That was my first year in business. And I had that dream of being in 100,000. It was September. And I will never forget when I was in the hot seat, when I thought that you will laugh at me when I will tell you where I am and where I want to be. I'll never forget your reaction. You were like, all right, okay, let's do it. We can do it, Kasia. I've got an idea. Let's do this exercise. And we did it. And I reached that 100,000 in the first year. But that just shows the commitment, the clear steps that can support us. And I love the idea that you shared with this goal with others, because like you said, it's not only that it brings that extra level of commitment, but it also brings that extra energy of encouragement from others, those who cheer us up, right? Like who want us to reach that goal. That is like, we can't deny it. It's extra level of energy that is included in the process.
And it shows us what's possible when we have a goal and we relentlessly follow it. Like we don't give up on it because, oh, it's going to be difficult. Oh, it's not possible. Just believe in it. Believe it's possible and then make it happen. And I think what often happens after you reach a goal like that is that you don't set the next goal, you know? And it's so important, like, okay, now you reach the 6 figures, 200K is next. Maybe it's not something you reach in the next year, but the year after that. And then actually gamifying it for your mind again. And I was just asked this question recently by a guy I met in Portugal, where I was speaking, like, what would you do if you had to make another 100K or 1 million in a month? You're like, and then your brain starts to think and you come up with crazy ideas. And maybe it is actually possible. But if you don't do the exercise, it will not happen.
And that's why it's so precious to invest in mentors who know which questions to ask.
Yes.
Right?
Exactly.
And put us on the right track. It's not always in the answers we get. It's the questions that get asked.
Yes, very true.
Sigrun, I think we've got it. I think we gave enough of amazing ideas that are worth trying, enough of inspiration to get curious even more about you and how you empower women, because I know that that has been your mission ever since you started your business. And it's definitely felt in your work with your clients. I've been one of them, so I know. Is there anything else you would like to add before we say goodbye?
Well, I think it's so important to see what's out there for you, and try things out. And whether it's attending a free training, 12 days of masterclasses, or anything else, you know, we all have dreams and wishes, and sometimes we don't know what we want until we see someone else doing the thing that we're like, oh yeah, I want to be like her. And role models are so important. Nobody's going for the million right away, but what if you just could replace your current income or double your current income with an online business? What is then possible? Because it's not about the money. It's about what you can do with it, how your life will change, what experiences you can afford to have with your loved ones, and how you can then be a role model for other women too.
Which you've been for many years. And thank you for your courage to step into this online business and sharing with your passion and serving so many women who have dreams and helping them make them come true. Thank you, Sigrun. My guest has been Sigrun. If you want to know more, follow me or Sigrun. I'm going to put all the links so you can find Sigrun in this online world for more inspiration. From my heart, I want to thank you for this precious time that you spend with me here today, sharing with inspiration and your business stories. Thank you, Sigrun.
Thank you for having me, Kasia. Always a pleasure to connect and talk with you.
Thank you.